Murder at the Mullers. That Christmas Eve was very chilly. The Muller family was just decorating their MS tree, fitting with their huge mansion. Their wealthy family was getting ready to host a Christmas dinner that night. It was expected that around 200 people would attend the event, thus the overwhelming amount of food shopping and cooking that had happened that same afternoon. When they went shopping, Mrs. Muller brought all sorts of traditional food, including rabbit and dog meat, which she would cook later that day with help from the home servants. The housewife also bought a couple of crates of Pilsner beer and a lot of eggnog. When she got back home, two of her three children were already at the front gate to meet their mother. Emma, the youngest of the three, and Albert, who was the middle child. The only missing child was Marcus, who had not yet woken up. When the time finally came, the table was full of familiar faces. Only 12 people did not show up to the fascinating festival. The table got served at 10:15 and was full of delicious food made by the Mullers. About an hour and a half later, everyone was done with their meal and most of the guests had left. Some family friends stayed a while longer to get a drink with the man of the house and play a game of pool. After a while, the kids went to sleep and all but 3 guests left. These were Frederick, Kurt, and Simon, who had been friends of Mr. Muller for a long time. Simon was the only one out of the 4 who had not been drinking that night, and Kurt was the only one who had completely passed out. These last guests were given a guest room to spend the night. The next morning, the Muller family woke up to the horrific scene of Mr. Muller's dead body. The youngest sibling, Emma, woke everyone up with a loud scream, as she was the first one to notice the incident. There was no weapon in the scene, which indicated it was a murder. Surprisingly, there was a guest missing from the house, this being the family friend, Simon. His car was missing as well, and there was a letter to be found written by him that stated, "I'm incredibly sorry, but I must leave. There is a business meeting I have to attend. Sincerely, Simon Werner." The 3 children were horrified to have found their father dead, and were crying in grief as their mother called the police, whom showed up 15 minutes later. The head of the police also showed up and suggested they get a proper detective to find the murderer, as none of them had experience with cases similar to this. There was a famous detective in the area who had cracked even the most difficult cases. The family was handed the detective's business card and had called him just mere moments after the police left their home. The detective showed up a couple of hours later at about 11 in the morning. As he was walking up into the driveway, he noticed there was broken glass shards in the freshly cut lawn that led to a broken window in the house. The door was open, and the family members were all waiting for him inside. As he entered the house, he saw everyone in utter shock at what had happened. He searched the body and found nothing but a couple of stab wounds, about 3 inches deep. He lined up all the people in the house, Mrs. Wilson, Albert, Emma, Marcus, Kurt, and Frederick, and soon after was handed the letter that Simon left on the countertop, which raised suspicions on all the people present. The detective decided to interview and question all of the suspects and witnesses in order to find the truth. He estimated that the time of death was from 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. and asked each of the suspects what they had done during that time, and also if they had heard anything late at night in the house, and also questioned him about their doings in the night beforehand. He first questioned Frederick, who claimed he had went to sleep at around 1 after he and his friends were done playing and drinking. He had not heard much, but did report that Mr. Muller was feeling a bit down and tipsy after the party. Frederick also claimed that he heard a window break in the middle of the night, but felt so tired he didn't feel like getting up from bed, only to be woken moments after by Emma's scream and his good friend's dead body. Second to the questioning was Kurt. He reinforced the statements made by Frederick, saying that he was drunk along with Frederick and Mr. Muller, the only sober one being Simon. He detailed that Simon was a bit agitated when he almost lost a game of pool to none other than the victim of the homicide, and claimed that he had cheated. Next up was one of the children, Marcus, who was the oldest of the 3. He stated that he had slept almost through the entirety of the party, being tired from making a model of the solar system for school that took him nearly 20 hours of non-stop work. He stated that he only went down once to greet the guests and get dinner, and later went back to bed. Being in one of the rooms upstairs, he claimed that he did not hear anything at all except for Emma's scream, which woke him up along with everyone else in the house. The fourth person to be interrogated was the smallest of the children, Emma. She says that she had been having an awesome time at the party since she was able to invite a couple of her friends over at the house for dinner. And later, after they left, she went to sleep. She stated that she woke up in the middle of the night, wanting to go to the bathroom, and afterwards felt a bit thirsty. She claimed that as she went downstairs to get a glass of water, she saw a man break through the front window, stabbing her drunken father, only to leave through the front door moments later. She let out a weeping scream that woke everyone in the house up, but when she did, it was already too late. Next was Mrs. Muller. She could barely talk and had to repeat most of the statements she made, as she was almost breathless due to the shocking events that had happened. She says that she got up really early in the morning before the murder to get groceries and food for the big party. When she got home, she started preparing the dishes for the guests, with help from the cooks who left before the party even started. Mrs. Muller stated that she served dinner, ate with the rest of the guests, and went to sleep at about 12 o'clock. She describes that she woke up by the scream of her daughter and was horrified when she looked at the man who lay dead on the house floor. Last up for questioning was the middle child, Albert. He recalled having a long conversation with some of the family and friends that were invited over to dinner. He told the detective that he had a long, soothing sleep and was woken up in fear by the screams provided by his little sister. He stated that he slept during the time of the murder, which was moments before he had woken up. He recalls sprinting down the stairs and was the first one to arrive and witness the scene. When Emma explained what had happened, he quickly went out the front door that Emma stated the murderer left through, and was shocked to find the street calm and empty, with no sight of whoever could have done it. The detective was left with only one suspect, Simon, whom the letter claimed to have a business meeting, and was the person everyone was suspicious of. When asked about him, he said, "I do not require to interview Simon. It is clear who the murderer is." Who murdered Mr. Muller, and how did the detective figure it out?